meetings led by Vice President Biden. He's the top Democrat in the House Budget Committee. Congressman, I guess I need 2 bits of fact from you to get this clear. When is a date before which it's safe to get this deal cut and after which we begin paying higher interest rates because we've gone too far with this discussion?
Well, no one can answer that question precisely, Chris, but the key is not to play
chicken.
Well, give me a guesstimate.
Give me a guesstimate.
We know that August 2nd is the date the Secretary of Treasury says that we would default on our debt. So obviously we're trying to get things done sooner rather than later. The closer you get to that date, the more jittery the markets get, and the higher the probability is you're going to get higher interest rates. Certainly if you go beyond that date, you really risk economic catastrophe, as Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, has said.
Well, here's my point, and I guess it's political. The Republicans seem to be so upset at the prospect of raising revenues in any way to balance this budget problem that they're willing to go to the point of costing this government billions and billions of dollars in higher interest costs to manage the debt, to service the debt. Am I right about that?
That's exactly right. They are playing Russian roulette with a fully loaded revolver because the consequences are exactly as we say. Now, you hear some of these harebrained schemes, Chris, that say, don't worry, we will pay our bondholders first. For example, we'll pay China and other foreign governments who hold U.S. Treasury bonds. We won't pay our troops. We won't pay Social Security. And therefore, the markets will be calm because the bondholders will be being paid. Well, first of all, wrong priority. We shouldn't be paying China and not paying our troops. Number two, anytime the U.S. government is not making good on its obligations, even whether they're to our troops or Social Security or anybody else, that will send jitters to the bond market, and that will have an impact on interest rates. So they're going to lose both ways if we do that. We will all lose both ways if we do that.
Senator Durbin was very courageous on Sunday. He was courageous before in backing the bipartisan, the president's commission on debt reduction, I thought. He said everything's on the table. Is that your view?
Well, we support the framework of the bipartisan commission. What I mean by that is Simpson-Bowles said that in order to achieve the deficit reduction targets that we want, like in the range of $4 trillion, whether it's over 10 or 12 years, you have to get a certain amount from cuts, and you should get a certain amount from revenue. And we support that structure in terms of the balanced plan. We have said that in order to get a real plan, you not only need to make cuts, but you also need to close a lot of these tax loopholes for oil and gas companies, for ethanol producers, whatever it may be, in order to have a fair approach. Now, I should say that when it comes to Social Security, for example, both sides have agreed that that's better dealt with on a separate track where we have to strengthen Social Security, like Tip O'Neill. You know the story there. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, you were there, got that done, that should be handled on a separate track.
Let me ask you about the facts. The American people understand this fight. Democrats are very jealous of any attempts to cut entitlements, especially Medicare and Social Security. They built those programs. They believe in it. People watching these shows believe in those programs. Most Americans believe in Democrat or Republican. They also don't like taxes. Now, maybe we've been taught that we can get away with a government without taxes by Reagan and other people. We have been. Fundamental question, can we get to the solution here? Can we avoid a bankruptcy, a doubling or whatever interest or rise, a spike of interest rates by raising revenues without raising tax rates? Is there enough loosey-goosiness in our tax structure that we can raise the revenues by plugging loopholes alone to meet this need?
Chris, I certainly think in the short and medium term, we can do that. In other words, there are enough loopholes in the tax code, both on the corporate side, some on the individual side, that you can close to generate that kind of revenue as part of a balanced package. In the longer run, you're going to have to deal with rates. And I think the campaign in 2012 that the president will take to the country is one about priorities. And he will argue. The folks at the very top just asked them to go back to the rates from the Clinton administration.
You give me, in the short run, we can avoid this crisis without raising rates. Number question, on the Democrat side, in the short run again, can we deal with entitlements without, in a serious way, bringing into doubt the credibility of Medicare? The reliability of Medicare. Can you find cuts without taking away the people's right at the age of 65 to medical care?
Well, you're absolutely right. We are not going to do anything like what the Republicans did, getting rid of the Medicare guarantee. We have said we can build on the things we did in the Affordable Care Act that rewards and incentivizes doctors based on the value of care they provide, not the volume of care, not the number of tests.
Right.
We've also said when it comes to, for example, the prescription drug companies, why shouldn't Medicare have the same bargaining authority as we give to the Veterans Administration to get a good price on drugs and go back to the same price we were getting on drugs before the 2005 prescription drug deal. So there are specific things.
Sounds like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, sir, in terms of avoiding a fiscal catastrophe. Is that true?
Well, I'm hoping, Chris. I mean, we're slugging it out. There are some very difficult choices that need to be made. But the point you made is key. Republicans have to understand that closing tax loopholes for special interests, all that pork barrel spending through the tax code has got to be part of any solution.
Okay, I hope so. Thank you. It's a well-used time of years. Thank you so much for coming on. Congressman Chris Van Hollen, who's leading the Democrats in this negotiation. When we return, let me finish with something John Huntsman said today. You just don't want to hear.